I died choking on my own blood, the taste of betrayal as metallic as the bullet that ripped through my chest. My father's face was the last thing I saw, twisted not in remorse, but in cold calculation, his whisper of, "This is for the family, Willow," echoing like a curse as the world faded to black. But death, that selfish bastard, didn't keep me. I woke up gasping in my old bed, the sheets tangled around me like a noose I hadn't yet slipped, the date on my phone screaming October 15th, 2018, 3 months before Mom's accident. The room spun, my heart hammering like it was trying to punch its way out of my ribcage. Sunlight sliced through the blinds of my cramped Brooklyn apartment, the kind of harsh morning light that made every regret from the night before glare back at you. I bolted upright, my hands clawing at my throat, expecting the wet warmth of blood, but there was nothing. Just smooth skin, the faint scar from that dumb tonsillectomy at 16. My reflection in the smudged mirror across the room stared back. 24-year-old me, Willow Harper, wide-eyed and alive, with the same messy auburn waves and freckles that always made people call me the girl next door. But I wasn't her anymore. I was the ghost who'd clawed her way back from the grave, armed with every filthy secret that had buried me. It hit me in waves. The funeral, the lies, the way Dad had posted that goddamn Instagram reel of him and his mistress toasting champagne on a beach in Maui, captioned "New Beginnings," while I shoveled dirt onto Mom's coffin alone. The comments had flooded in, heart emojis from his golf buddies, pity likes from distant cousins, none of them knowing he'd poisoned her coffee that morning, slow and subtle, arsenic from the garden shed disguised as her morning ritual. I'd found the vial after, hidden in a sock drawer, right next to the love letters from Elena, his business associate who'd been screwing him since I was in high school. He'd framed it all on Mom's depression, painted her as the fragile artist who couldn't handle the pressures of our perfect Upper East Side life. And me? I'd been the loose end, the daughter who'd started asking too many questions, digging too deep into bank records that showed he'd been siphoning her gallery earnings for years to fund his double life.
But now?
Now I had time. 3 months to unravel the man who'd unraveled us. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from Mom. "Coffee run? Miss my girl." My throat tightened, tears blurring the screen. In my first life, I'd blown her off for a shift at the coffee shop, too buried in my graphic design gigs to notice the tremor in her voice on the call. That delay, that one stupid choice, meant I wasn't there when she collapsed in the kitchen, frothing at the mouth. This time, I'd be there. I'd save her. And then, I'd burn Dad's world to the ground, brick by brick, controversial or not. I threw on jeans and a hoodie, the autumn chill biting through the thin fabric as I hustled down the fire escape to the street. Brooklyn buzzed with its usual chaos, delivery bikes weaving through yellow cabs, the scent of halal carts mixing with exhaust. Mom's studio was a 15-minute subway ride away, tucked in a converted warehouse in Dumbo, where she'd poured her soul into abstract oils that captured the rage of city life. I could still see her in my mind's eye from that last timeline, frail in her hospital bed, whispering about the affair she'd suspected but never confronted, her eyes pleading for me to make him pay before the machines flatlined. The F train rattled me across the bridge, the East River churning below like it wanted to swallow me whole. By the time I pushed through the studio door, the bell jingling like a warning, Mom was at her easel, smock splattered with cerulean and crimson. She turned, her smile lighting up the space, 62 but fierce, with silver streaks in her dark hair and laugh lines that crinkled like invitations to conspiracy. "Willow, you're early for once. What's the occasion?" I crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her into a hug that crushed the air from my lungs. She smelled like turpentine and lavender, the anchors of my childhood. "Just missed you." I mumbled into her shoulder, fighting the sob clawing up my throat. She pulled back, eyeing me with that artist's scrutiny. "You look like you've seen a ghost, kiddo. Everything okay with that boyfriend of yours? Jake, right?"
Jake.
The name twisted like a knife. In the first go-around, he'd been my rock after Mom died, until Dad got to him, offering him a partnership in the family real estate firm that was really just a payoff to keep his mouth shut about the inconsistencies in Mom's autopsy. Jake had sold me out, testified that I'd been unstable, planting doubts that led to Dad's acquittal when I tried to sue. He'd even helped stage the robbery that ended with me bleeding out in our old brownstone. But that was future poison. Right now, Jake was just the barista I'd been dating for 6 months, all dimples and bad poetry. "We're good," I lied, forcing a grin. "But let's talk about you."
Dad's been distant lately.
Trips to Chicago for conferences. "You notice anything off?" Her brush paused mid-stroke, the canvas blooming with a fresh streak of indigo. "Your father's always been a workaholic, Willow. It's the nature of the beast in real estate." But her voice hitched, just a fraction, and I saw it, the flicker of doubt she'd buried deep. In my memories, that doubt had festered into quiet nights of wine and tears, until the arsenic made it permanent. I set my jaw, the plan forming like storm clouds over the harbor. Step 1. Get her out. Away from the house, away from his hands on the coffee pot. What if we take a girls' trip? Just you and me.
Vermont?
Leaf peeping, hot cider, no men allowed. She laughed, but it was thin, laced with the exhaustion I now recognized as the first stage of a slow kill. Tempting. But the gallery shows in 2 weeks. Rain check. No rain checks.
Not this time.
I leaned in, voice low. "Mom, listen to me. Something's wrong. With him."
Trust me on this.
Her eyes searched mine, the room falling silent except for the distant hum of the city. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd brush it off like always. Practical Patricia Harper, queen of denial. But then she sighed, setting the brush down. "I've known for a while, Willow. The late nights, the perfume on his collars. Elena Voss from his office. I found emails last month. But confronting him, it would shatter everything." Shatter? It already had. In my throat, the words burned. "He's going to kill you." But I couldn't drop that bomb. Not without proof, not without her believing the impossible truth of my second chance. Instead, I squeezed her hand. "Then we fight back. Quietly. We document it all. And if he steps wrong, we end it." She nodded slowly, a spark igniting in her eyes, the fighter I'd lost too soon. As we brewed tea instead of coffee that afternoon, plotting like thieves in the night, I felt the first thrill of vengeance coil in my gut. Dad thought he was untouchable, the silver-haired king of Manhattan deals, with his corner office overlooking Central Park and a Rolodex full of politicians in his pocket. But I knew his skeletons, the kickbacks from shady developments, the offshore accounts bleeding Mom's inheritance dry, the way he'd groomed Elena from intern to bedwarmer over a decade. By evening, as I kissed Mom goodbye and stepped back into the neon pulse of Brooklyn, my phone lit up with a text from Jake. "Miss you dinner tonight?" I stared at it, thumb hovering.
Delete.
Block. In this life, I didn't need his pretty lies. I needed allies, real ones. Like Sarah, my old college roommate, now a PI scraping by in Queens, who'd once joked about tailing cheating spouses for beer money. Time to make it real. The subway home was a blur of fluorescent lights and strangers' stares, my mind racing through the timeline. November 20th, Mom's accident. December 5th, the funeral, where Dad would sob crocodile tears while texting Elena flight confirmations. January, my confrontation, the planted evidence that painted me as the hysterical daughter. April, the bullet. I had months, but every day was a razor wire. One slip, and history repeated. Back in my apartment, I fired up my laptop, the screen's glow casting shadows like accusations. First search. Arsenic poisoning symptoms. Subtle at first, nausea, fatigue, escalating to organ failure. Matches for Mom's decline in my memories. Next, Richard Harper real estate scandals. Buried articles from the 90s, whispers of bribery in Jersey developments. Nothing concrete, but enough to start a file. I emailed Sarah. Hypothetical. How much for discreet surveillance on a cheating husband? And can you trace financials? Her reply pinged back in minutes. Hypothetical my ass. $500 retainer. Send deets. As midnight crept in, the city outside my window a symphony of sirens and distant laughter, I leaned back, the weight of 2 lifetimes pressing down. This wasn't just revenge, it was resurrection. I'd save Mom, expose Dad, make him choke on his own new beginnings. But deep down, a voice whispered the controversial truth. What if saving her meant becoming him? Ruthless, willing to destroy to rebuild. I shoved it aside. For now, sleep claimed me, dreams laced with blood and beachside toasts. Waking up to the second day of my borrowed life felt like surfacing from a drowning, gasps for air, limbs heavy with the memory of water closing over my head. But this time, it was coffee from the corner bodega, black and bitter, chasing away the fog. Mom's text came at 8:17 a.m. Gallery meeting today. Lunch after? And Willow, don't worry too much. We'll handle it.
Handle it.
If only she knew how deep the rot went. I spent the morning in a dive bar-turned co-working space in Williamsburg, nursing a laptop and a flat white while combing through Dad's digital footprint. Social media was his vanity mirror, polished shots of luxury closings, him in tailored suits shaking hands with senators, captions like, closing deals that build dreams. Buried in the likes, Elena Voss's profile popped, blonde, sharp-featured, 35 going on ambitious shark. Her feed was a shrine to their affair. Cryptic posts about stolen moments, geotagged to Chicago hotels, a recent story of a sunset yacht ride with the tag living my best life. No direct mentions of Dad, but the timelines synced perfectly with his business trips. Sarah met me at noon in a greasy spoon-off Flatbush, her leather jacket smelling like cigarette smoke and resolve. Mid-30s, tattooed arms from her Navy days, she slid into the booth with a manila folder and a smirk. So, the hypothetical's your old man, huh? Rich prick in a penthouse. I nodded, sliding her the retainer in cash. Discreet. Photos, locations, any financial trails. He's good at covering tracks, shell companies, maybe. She flipped open the folder, revealing prelims she'd pulled overnight. Dad's firm, Harper Developments, had a history of creative accounting. A 2015 audit dodged thanks to a consulting fee to a city councilman. Your pop's not sloppy, but everyone's got a weak spot. Mistresses are gold mines, jealous, loose-lipped. I'll start with her. As we scarfed down eggs and hash browns, the plan solidified. Sarah would tail them. I'd play the dutiful daughter, getting close enough to plant seeds of doubt. Controversial? Hell yes. I'd flirt with Elena at the next family dinner, whisper about Mom's suspicions, watch the paranoia crack their facade. But the real edge came when Sarah mentioned hacking. Nothing illegal, she swore, just public records deep dives. I didn't ask for details. In my first life, I'd been too clean, too law-abiding, and it got me a bullet. This time, lines blurred. Lunch with Mom was a bomb. Her laughing over falafel wraps in a Dumbo cafe, sketching napkin doodles of us as superheroes. You and me against the world, Willowbug, she said, her foot nudging mine under the table. But as we walked the waterfront, Manhattan's skyline looming like a judgmental jury, I spotted the first thread to pull. A black town car idled across the street, Dad's driver behind the wheel. Paranoia? Or was he already watching? That night, Jake showed up unannounced, takeout tie in hand, his boyish grin disarming as ever. Heard you sounded off on the phone. Thought we'd Netflix and chill. Minus the chill if you're game. He waggled his eyebrows, but I saw the subtext, his insecurity, the way he'd always needed validation like oxygen. In the future he'd betray me for, this charm had worn thin fast. I let him in, the apartment suddenly too small for the lies I'd have to spin. We ate on the couch, some rom-com droning in the background, but my mind was elsewhere, rehearsing confrontations, mapping escape routes for Mom. Jake's hand on my knee pulled me back. Earth to Willow. You've been zombie mode all week. Work stress? Something like that. I shifted, his touch suddenly clammy. Family stuff.
Dad's.
Complicated. He nodded, too eager. Tell me about it. My folks split when I was 10, messy as hell. But hey, that's why we're good together. We get the chaos.
Did we?
In my memories, he'd chosen chaos over me, pocketing Dad's hush money to fund his startup dreams. A tech app that never launched because he blew it on craft beer and bad bets. I studied him now, the earnest hazel eyes, the stubble I'd once traced with my fingers. Could I use him? Turn the betrayer into bait? Tell you what, I said, forcing a smile as I straddled his lap, the move calculated but feeling like acid. Let's make tonight about forgetting. His groan of approval drowned out the guilt, but as we tumbled into bed, my mind raced ahead, to the gala in 2 weeks, where Dad would parade Elena as his top executive, Mom on his arm like a trophy. That's when I'd strike first, an anonymous tip to the board about their affair, leaked emails Sarah would procure. Watch the stocks dip, the whispers spread. Morning came with Jake snoring beside me, sunlight mocking the shadows under my eyes. I slipped out, leaving a note. Early shift. Love you. Lies upon lies. At the studio, Mom was elbow-deep in varnish, but she paused when I arrived, unannounced again. Twice in 2 days? You're spoiling me. Or plotting. I teased, but my voice was steel. I want you to move out. Temporarily. My place, it's small, but safe. Her laugh was sharp. From what? A phantom affair? Willow, I'm not running. It's not running. It's strategy. I pulled up a chair, spilling just enough. The emails I'd stumbled on while house-sitting, the late-night calls. Her face paled, but she didn't break. Instead, she stood, pacing the cluttered space. Your father built this life. If I leave now, it's admitting defeat.
Defeat?
It was survival. But arguing would push her away, so I pivoted. Then let's gather ammo.
Quietly.
I have a friend, private investigator. Nothing invasive, just facts. She stopped, arms crossed, the pose of a woman weighing her chains. And if it proves everything, what then? Then we end it. The words hung heavy, laced with the unspoken. Divorce, scandal, maybe prison if I played my cards right. Controversial didn't begin to cover it. I'd considered spiking Dad's string myself, a mirror to his crime, but that was the abyss talking.
No. Smarter.
Legal, mostly. By week's end, Sarah's first report landed. Photos of Dad and Elena in a Soho loft, not his office, her laughter frozen mid-frame as they clinked wine glasses. Financials showed transfers, $50K from a Harper account to an EV Consulting, dated the day after Mom's last gallery sale.
Proof.
I forwarded it to Mom anonymously, via a burner email, watching her reaction the next day at brunch. The way her fork trembled, her questions veiled but pointed. Dad called that afternoon, his voice silk over gravel. Willow, darling. Dinner Friday? The Four Seasons. Elena's joining team building, you know.
Bait.
I accepted, sweet as pie. Can't wait, Dad. Mom, too. A pause too long. Of course. Family first. Liar. As I hung up, the city outside my window pulsed with possibility, horns blaring, pedestrians hustling like ants in a storm. Vengeance wasn't a sprint, it was a siege. And I was just warming up. But that night, as thunder rattled the windows, doubt crept in. Jake texted, "We need to talk. You're pulling away." Truth was a luxury I couldn't afford. I replied, "Busy week. Soon." Then, deeper search, suicide rates among betrayed spouses. Stats blurred on the screen, but one number stuck. 1 in 5. Had Mom teetered there in my first life, before the poison pushed her over? The thought fueled the fire. No more victims. Saturday brought rain, the kind that turned streets to rivers and moods to murk. Sarah and I met in a shadowed booth at a dive in Astoria. Her latest haul spread like contraband, more photos, Elena's credit card trails linking to jewelry stores, a voice memo from a bugged car, Dad murmuring, "Patty's getting suspicious." We accelerate. Accelerate. My blood ran cold. The gala was tomorrow. Time to move. The gala lights glittered like shattered glass on the Met's grand staircase, chandeliers dripping opulence over black ties and ball gowns. I descended in a crimson sheath that hugged like armor, Mom on my arm in emerald silk, her choice, defiant against Dad's preference for pastels. He waited below, Elena at his side in gold, her hand possessive on his elbow. The air hummed with jazz and small talk, but under it all, I smelled the rot. Ambition masked as civility. Mom squeezed my arm as we approached. "You look like you're going to war, Willow." "I am," I murmured, pasting on a smile. Dad's eyes lit up. Predator spotting prey. "There's my girls. Stunning, both of you." He air-kissed Mom, lingering a beat too long on Elena's introduction. "Willow, meet Elena Voss, our rising star." Elena's grip was cool, manicured nails like talons. "I've heard so much about you. The creative one, right? Graphic design, how bohemian." Her tone dripped condescension, but her eyes flicked to Mom, assessing the threat. We mingled through appetizers, caviar on blinis, champagne flutes clinking like toasts to the damned. Dad held court with developers, his laugh booming, but I caught the glances. Elena's foot brushing his under the table, Mom's forced nods as she chatted with patrons. My burner buzzed in my clutch, Sarah. Leaked the emails to the Times tip line. "By morning it'll sting." Good. Phase 2. As dessert wheeled out, Tiramis layered like lies. I cornered Elena by the bar, refills in hand. "So, Chicago must be thrilling. Dad raves about the deals." She sipped, eyes narrowing.
It's
intense. Long hours. A probe, testing. Must be nice to have someone to unwind with. I leaned in, voice honeyed venom. Mom's noticed the trips.
The
closeness. Her flute paused midair, color draining. "What are you implying?" "Nothing. Just girl talk." I clinked her glass, walking away to Mom's side. The seed planted, doubt would fester. Dad pulled me aside later, breath scotch warm. "You're quiet tonight. Everything all right with Jake?" "He couldn't make it." "Busy," I said, meeting his gaze. Steel on steel. "But I'm here for Mom."
"She's
tired lately." His smile didn't reach his eyes.
"She's fine.
Stress from the show. We'll get her a spa day." Arsenic, not stress. I nodded, excusing myself to the powder room, where I texted Sarah, "Ramp it up. Bank records to IRS and on." Controversial? Crossing into fraud territory, but Dad's empire was built on it. What was one stone thrown back? The night blurred into after-party whispers, deals whispered in corners, Elena shooting me glares like daggers. Mom and I slipped out early, the cab ride home silent until she broke it. "That woman. She's more than an employee." I nodded, the city lights streaking past. "I know, but we have proof now. It's coming out." Her hand found mine, trembling. "What if it destroys us all? Then we rebuild." But as we pulled up to the brownstone, my phone lit with Jake's call. I let it ring, the voicemail later a gut punch. "Willow, Dad, your dad called me. Said you're spiraling, talking about family secrets. What's going on? Call me back." Dad's reach, already extending. I deleted it, but sleep evaded me that night, the ceiling a canvas for worst cases. By dawn, the leak hit, a blind item in the post about Manhattan mogul's steamy side hustle. Dad's phone blew up during breakfast. Mom serving eggs while he fielded calls, face thunderous. "Who the hell is feeding the press?" He barked at no one, slamming his mug down. Mom flinched, but met his eyes. "Perhaps it's karma, Richard. For the lies." He froze, fork midway. "What did you say?" "You heard me." Her voice was calm, a dam breaking. "The emails. The money. Elena. It's over." The kitchen crackled, air thick as before a storm. Dad's face morphed, charm to fury in a blink. "You think you can threaten me? After everything I've given you?" "Given?" Mom laughed, bitter. "You took, Richard. My trust. Our life." She turned to me. "Pack a bag, Willow. We're leaving." He lunged, but I was faster, body checking him into the island, the crack of marble on bone echoing. Touch her and you're done. For a moment, we were statues. Father, daughter, wife on the edge of fracture. Then he straightened, suit rumpled, eyes promising hell. This isn't over. We were out by noon, Mom's suitcase in my trunk, crashing at my Brooklyn walk-up. Sarah's next drop came that afternoon. Offshore wires. $2 million funneled to Elena's Cayman account. I forwarded to a divorce attorney friend, loop closing tight. But Jake showed up at dusk, rain-soaked and desperate, pounding on the door. Willow, open up. Your dad's worried, says you're unsafe. Unsafe. The irony burned. I cracked the door, Mom hovering behind. Go home, Jake. You're in over your head. His face crumpled. What the fuck is this? He said you're accusing him of murder? That's insane. Not insane. Prophetic. Believe what you want, but stay away. He didn't leave easy, pleading, tears mixing with rain. I love you, Willow. Don't do this.
Love.
The word soured. In the first life, it had blinded me.
Now?
It was leverage. If you really do, prove it. Walk away from him. From the job he's dangling. His silence was answer enough. He left, shoulders slumped, but I knew Dad's hooks were in deep. The next weeks were a whirlwind siege. Mom filed for divorce, the lawyer citing infidelity and embezzlement. Dad countersued for alienation, claiming I poisoned her against him. Gaslighting gold. Media swarmed. Real estate heirs family implosion. Elena vanished from the firm, but not before Sarah caught her packing a U-Haul, Dad loading boxes in the dead of night.
I dove diper, controversia legis sharpening.
Anonymous posts on industry forums. Harper Developments, rotten core? Tips to SEC on insider trades. Each hit landed. Stocks dipped 15%. Clients jumped ship. Dad called daily, voicemails veering from paternal pleas to veiled threats. You're ruining everything we built, Willow. Think of your mother.
I did.
Every night, as Mom sketched furiously in the living room, purging years of silence onto canvas, I plotted the kill shot. The anniversary party, his firm's big bash at the plaza, November 18th. I'd crash it, evidence in hand. The arsenic vial, swiped from his study during a reconciliation lunch I'd faked. Lab-tested, irrefutable. But on the 10th, twist struck. Jake texted coordinates, a seedy motel in Jersey. Meet me. I have what you need. Trap or redemption? I went alone, the sodium lights buzzing like warnings. He waited in room 12, gaunt, chain-smoking. Your dad's unhinged. Offered me $100K to watch you. But I recorded him, admitting the transfers, the pressure on your mom. He slid a USB across the table, eyes pleading.
Take it.
End this. I snatched it, but paused. Why now? Because I was wrong. About everything. His hand reached for mine, but I pulled back. Trust fractured once didn't mend easy. Back home, the file played. Dad's voice, tinny but damning. Patty's digging too deep. The accident. It has to happen soon.
Accident.
Code for murder. Mom heard it, collapsing into sobs, not of grief, but release. He planned it. God, Willow, how did you know? Second chances, I thought, but said nothing. We had him. The plaza's ballroom pulsed with forced festivity, crystal clinking, a string quartet sawing through tension like a bow on barbed wire. Dad's anniversary gala, meant to be a triumph, now a funeral for his facade. I slipped in through a service entrance, black dress anonymous in the crowd, the USB and vial burning in my clutch like live coals. Mom waited in the wings, prepped to testify if it went south, her lawyer on speed dial. Spotting Dad on the dais, microphone in hand, Elena nowhere in sight. Rumor had it she'd bolted to Miami with a chunk of his slush fund. I wove through suits and gowns, heart a war drum. He was mid-toast. To 20 years of building legacies. The crowd applauded, oblivious. I climbed the steps, voice cutting the applause like a blade. Legacies built on lies, Dad? Gasps rippled. He turned, face paling under the spots.
Willow.
This isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I yanked the mic from his grip, the cord whipping like a lash. Richard Harper, King of Manhattan, cheater, thief, murderer. The words detonated, whispers exploding into shouts. Security edged closer, but I held up the vial, glinting under lights. Arsenic. From your shed. Traces in Mom's blood you paid the coroner to bury. Chaos bloomed. Phones out, flashes popping. Dad lunged, snarling. You little bitch, it's forged. His fist connected with my jaw, a crack that sent me staggering, copper flooding my mouth. The crowd surged, some cheering the drama, others dialing 911. I spat blood, studying. Ask the lab. Or the recordings, your voice, plotting her accident. I slotted the USB into the AV system, hitting play. His confession boomed. The accident has to happen soon. Recognition dawned on faces, clients, rivals, the press in the back row scribbling furiously. Dad's empire crumbled in real time. He backed away, eyes wild, security hauling him as sirens wailed distant. You'll regret this, Willow. Family sticks together. Not yours, I shot back, the mic trembling in my grip. Mom rushed the stage then, wrapping me in her arms, her whisper fierce. You did it, baby. You saved us. But as cops swarmed, cuffing him amid flashes, the controversial weight hit. I'd leaked to tabloids pre-gala. Blind items twisting facts just enough to ignite frenzy. Was it justice or vendetta? The line blurred bloody. Interrogation rooms followed. Detectives in a midtown precinct, coffee stale as regret. Mom and I tag-teamed, her detailing the affair's toll, me the evidence trail. Dad lawyered up fast, but the recordings, the vial, Sarah's financials, they piled like an avalanche. Bail denied. Headlines screamed, tycoon in toxicity plot. Jake appeared at the station that night, eyes red-rimmed. I turned over more tapes. He's done. His hand brushed mine. Tentative, hopeful. We could start over. I pulled away, the bruise on my jaw throbbing. Start over? You chose him once. I was scared. Stupid. Tears tracked his cheeks. But I love you. Always have.
Love.
Again. In the first life, it had been my anchor until it dragged me under.
Now?
It felt like chains. Go heal, Jake. I need to. He left, the door clicking shut like finality. Mom and I drove home in silence, the city a blur of neon accusations. At the apartment, she poured wine. Real this time, no poison lurking. You were ruthless tonight, she said, clinking glasses. Proud or scared? Both. The truth spilled, not all of it, but fragments, the dreams that foretold it all, my certainty born of ghosts. She listened, eyes wide, then hugged me. Whatever it was, it worked. We're free. But freedom's price echoed in the days after. Dad's firm hemorrhaged clients. Lawsuits flew like shrapnel. Elena surfaced in depositions, flipping for immunity, spilling on the kickbacks. Controversial decisions mounted. I greenlit Sarah to enhance a blurry photo of Dad buying the arsenic, digital forensics blurring ethics. When prosecutors wavered on intent, I anonymously doxed his allies, councilmen, bankers, forcing their recants. November 20th dawned gray, the original death date. Mom and I marked it with brunch in Central Park, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones. No accident, just us alive. But my phone buzzed, a collect call from Rikers. Dad. I accepted, his voice gravel through static. Willow.
Please.
One visit. For old times. Old times. Summers in the Hamptons, him teaching me to sail, before the greed soured it. Curiosity, or closure, won. I went. The visitor room sterile as a morgue, his orange jumpsuit a clown's costume on the man who'd ruled boardrooms. He looked smaller, gaunt, eyes pleading. You win.
But why?
I did it for us, for the legacy. Legacy. I laughed, cold. You killed for greed. Mom's money, your freedom. It was mercy. She was suffering, depressed, broken. Lies still. But then the twist. Elena. She's pregnant. Your sibling. Don't let this destroy them. The world tilted. Sibling. In my first life, no mention miscarriage, perhaps, or hidden deeper. Rage warred with pity, controversial mercy flickering. Not my problem. Rot for what you did. As guards led him away, his shout followed. You'll be just like me. The words haunted the trial prep. December brought snow, blanketing the city in false purity. Mom thrived, new show booked, canvases alive with fury turned art. Jake circled, texts apologetic, flowers at the door. I let him in once, testing dinner, tentative laughs. But when he proposed moving in, I balked. Too soon. Too much. Hurt flashed, but he nodded. I get it.
Just.
Don't shut me out forever. The trial opened January 15th. Courthouse steps mobbed. I testified first, voice steady. The affair's discovery, the poison's shadow, Dad's confession tape looping for the jury. Gasps, sobs from Mom in the gallery. Dad's defense painted him as stressed, me as vengeful. Daughter's delusions, they called it. But the evidence crushed, Tuck's reports, wires, Elena's tearful flip. Closing arguments hit like thunder. Prosecution, premeditated betrayal. Defense, circumstantial chaos. Jury out 3 days, agony of what-ifs. On the 4th, guilty, murder 1, 25 to life. The courtroom erupted. Mom collapsed against me, weeping relief. Dad's glare from the dock promised curses, but as they chained him, I felt empty. Vengeance sated. But the cost? Shattered family, my soul scarred with gray choices. Outside, snow fell soft, paparazzi flashes blinding. Jake waited, arm offered. Proud of you. I took it, tentative. Maybe redemption in the ruins. But that night, alone, the twist uncoiled. A letter from Dad, smuggled via a guard. You think it's over? Elena's child, yours to raise, or watch suffer. Choose wisely, daughter.
Sibling.
Innocent in the crossfire. The controversial fork, mercy, or let the sin cycle. Spring thawed Manhattan's grit into tentative bloom, cherry blossoms defiant against concrete, mirroring the fragile piece I'd carved from wreckage. Dad's sentencing loomed in April, but the real verdict was mine. What to do with the secret he'd hurled like a grenade. Elena's baby, girl, I'd learned via Sarah's discreet dig, due in July, the mother holed up in a Key West rental, living off Dad's dwindling reserves. No contact, but the letter burned. Protect your blood, Willow. Or become the monster.
Monster.
The word echoed in therapy sessions Mom dragged me to, a park slope shrink with wire rims and zero bullshit. Revenge reshapes us, she'd say, scribbling notes as I unpacked the dreams, my euphemism for the first life, the bullet's bite still phantom-making my chest. Mom believed the vision's divine intervention. I knew better. Some cosmic glitch, a do-over laced with debt. Jake and I danced the line. Dates and hidden jazz dives, his hand steady where before it had faltered. I'm all in, he swore one night over rooftop margaritas, city sprawl at our feet. No more half measures. I wanted to believe, his laugh lines crinkling genuine, the way he deferred to Mom's stories without flinching. But trust was a house of cards, one gust from collapse. Sarah cashed her final check with a wink. You owe me a vacation, Harper. Non-hypothetical. Her work unearthed the last threads. Dad's pre-affair dabble in Ponzi-light schemes, victims' families now suing the estate. Mom's divorce settlement ballooned, half the firm, liquidated to fund her gallery expansion. Empowerment, American style, from victim to victor. But the baby loomed. I flew south incognito, a humid May afternoon finding Elena on a porch swing, belly swollen under a sundress, rocking gently as waves lapped. She startled at my knock, hand protective over the bump. Willow? How? Doesn't matter. I held up the letter. He told me about her. Her laugh was wry, defeated. A girl. Harper's stubbornness. Voss fire.
Fitting.
We talked halting, her ambition twisted by love, Dad's promises turning to possession. He wanted me gone after, she admitted, eyes on the horizon. The poison, I suspected, but stayed silent. For this controversial complicity. I could hate her, but saw my own flaws mirrored. Denial for survival. What now? You keeping her? She nodded, fierce. Raising her right. Away from his shadow. And support? Money's tight. A shrug. Welfare, odd jobs. She'll be enough. Enough. The word cracked something. I wrote a check, $50K, anonymous via trust, my graphic design windfall. Not for him. For her. Clean slate. Tears welled, but she pocketed it. Why?
Second chance.
Driving back through the Everglades' eerie hush, I felt the twist resolve, not tragic fall, but uneasy grace. Vengeance hadn't hollowed me. It had honed. Sentencing day dawned brutal. Heat wave baking the courthouse, air thick with sweat and schadenfreude. Dad in cuffs, gaunt as a specter, eyes locking on mine as the judge intoned. Life, no parole. No drama, just finality. Mom testified impact. He stole my joy, nearly my life. Voice steady, artist now. I followed. You betrayed us all, but we rise. His outburst came last. Lies. Willow framed me, her delusions. But the gavel fell, guards dragging him to shadows. Outside, media frenzy. Tycoons fall, daughters triumph. Jake pulled me close, Mom beaming beside. Dinner? Celebrate. We did, hole-in-the-wall Italian in Little Italy. Toast to go Spanished. Laughter flowed easy, Jake's knee against mine a quiet anchor. Later, in bed, his whispers turned proposal. Ring box from his pocket, simple gold band glinting. Marry me? Build something real? Heart stuttered, first life's betrayal flashing. But this Jake? Redeemed or illusion? Yes, I breathed, controversial hope winning. But slow. We earn it. Summer unfurled golden. Moms show a smash, abstracts of betrayal transmuted to beauty, critics raving, raw catharsis. Jake and I planned a micro-wedding, courthouse, then beach, inviting Elena and the baby for a distant toast. She accepted the girl, named Aria, arriving pink and wailing, a bridge over abyss. But the true climax? A late August night, storm raging, when the past clawed back. Anonymous email, grainy video, Dad in prison yard, bribing a con for family business. Threat veiled. Finish what I started. Fear iced my veins. History's echo. I forwarded to feds, Sarah's contacts lighting it up. Raid followed. Dad's appeals crushed. No more ghosts. As leaves turned again, October 15th, rebirth anniversary, I stood on the Brooklyn Bridge, wind whipping, city alive below. Mom texted, proud forever. Jake, love you always. Elena, photo of Aria's first steps, caption thanks sis.
Sis.
The word warmed. Vengeance done. Life reclaimed. Not perfect, laced with scars and what-ifs. But mine. Controversial? The choices that bent morals for justice. The mercy extended to blood diluted. Tense? Every shadow held threat once. But now, in the American grind of reinvention, I breathed free. No new beginnings posted online, just quiet ones, earned in blood and rebirth. And for the first time, the future didn't whisper death. It sang possibility.